and to rejoice again, and to rejoice again. Today we are joyful then, and to rejoice again. Hoo-yah!
Good morning. The chalice is the symbol of our UU faith. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, now is the time to light it together as we say the same words we say it each week at our fellowship. And we light this flame as a symbol of our new life, enlightening our way as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love, and may we share that light with all people.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Christina Leone Tracy. I'm the senior minister here at the fellowship. Thank you for welcoming us into your home today. It is so good to be together. We love to see your faces and feel your presence. Today, I'm grateful to get to be with you through the magic of video, but I'm preaching for another congregation. I'll be back next week. If you are joining us from another Unitarian Universalist congregation, welcome. If this is your first time visiting the fellowship, I want to extend you a special welcome. We want to help you find out more about our fellowship, which even during this time of online gathering has lots to do. We're happy to help you get connected here if you send an email to our Director of Congregational Life, Marie Luna. Her email address will be on the chat box. This year, we are focusing on growing resilience through each of our worship services at the fellowship. And this week, we finish our theme of balance. Today, we hope to find balance with our natural world, inspired by the indigenous people who inhabited this land for generations before white colonists arrived. Today's special Earth Day service is being led and supported by members and friends of our Fellowship Green Sanctuary team, including Roger Konitz, Sarah Arnold, Terry Dawson, John Duffin, and Doug Middleton. It's also being supported by Allie Peters, our intern minister, Reverend Leah Ongiri, our associate minister, Marie Luna, our director of congregational life, Kim Hartman, our director of religious education, Steve Seek, our music director, our wonderful musicians and singers, and Adam Robinson, who is our audio-visual technician. We also have a very special guest speaker for this morning, Sara Wescott. Sara is a member of the Menominee Nation of Wisconsin. She enjoys raising her children and working on the land of the Menominee. Sara grew up on the reservation and returned after attending the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh to assist community efforts of revitalization and growth, which has been a lifelong desire. Her involvement with a local nonprofit group provided a platform to pursue her passion of community rebuilding while helping to create a brighter future for the next generations. Her strong conviction for clean water and a healthy environment has led her to focus her energy on environmental justice, while her devotion for equality for all humankind has fueled her efforts to make this world a better place. Welcome, Sara. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who has made this morning's service possible. Speaking of making this service possible, I want to focus for a moment on our intern minister, Allie Peters. Allie arranged this service and worked hard with our Green Sanctuary team to make it happen. And in case you missed the news, I want to let you all know that we are so excited to have Allie continue with us for the next program year, as Reverend Leah will be departing her associate minister position in the fall. This is such good news to have Allie provide continuity and to bring her talent, skill, and joy to our ministry here at the fellowship for another year. Hooray! Please congratulate Allie. It's time now to settle into your space, wherever you are. Take a deep breath and be present to this time together, even as we gather from our own separate spaces.
May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be
Our fellowship building sits on the ancestral homelands of the Menominee Nation, which for thousands of years occupied millions of acres in northeastern Wisconsin. Through a series of treaties, the majority of this land was taken from them. We acknowledge with gratitude the past, present, and future stewardship of this land by the Menominee, who continue to seek justice and to care for and protect their land. If we are to heal our planet, it is necessary that we respect and learn from the Menominee and other indigenous nations.
Hello. I'm really happy to be here with all of you, especially our young people and, of course, our people who are young at heart. Today, we've got a story from our sixth source, which is learning from the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Our story is called We Are Water Protectors, and it's written by Carol Lindstrom and Michaela Goad. Carol, the author, is a citizen of the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe, and Michaela, the illustrator, is of Tlingit descent and is enrolled with the Central Tlingit and Haida Indian tribes of Alaska. The author, Miss Lindstrom, was inspired to write a book 5 years ago when a large oil pipeline called the Dakota Access Pipeline was being built and was crossing into tribal land, across sacred burial grounds, and into waterways. And she says her story was written to honor the Standing Rock water protectors who fought fiercely to protect the land from harm. So let's take a look and see what we can learn from We Are Water Protectors. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside of our mother's body as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. It will spoil the water, it will poison plants and animals, and it will wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. But now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land and it courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together to stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in a fight for its life. Real story endings are not always happy, and sadly, the fight was lost, and the Dakota Access Pipeline was built with no promises that it would not leak, and no promises that it would not harm the water. In fact, there were leaks in the pipeline before it was even finished. So, as we move from Earth Day of this past week and we begin a new week, let's continue to remember the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. We are all related, and we are all stewards of the earth.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies, for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures, in their silent majesty, for the stars that all the heavens, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
Remember by Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance that language is, that life is. Remember.
About a year ago, UU World magazine published an article entitled "The Problem with Wilderness," which was an excerpt from the book As Long as Grass Grows by Dina Gilio-Whitaker, noting the way environmentalists, historians, and UUs think of environmentalism as beginning with writers like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and John Muir, linking it to transcendentalism, which believed that a direct experience with the divine could be attained through intimate interaction with nature. This might have seemed like progressive thinking to colonists, but Thoreau and Muir were notably insensitive, or worse, to Native American concerns. I was fascinated by the article. I attended a UU Ministry for the Earth book talk with the author, and I bought a copy, and I finished listening to the audiobook in early June as I was driving up to Mole Lake to join a water walk expressing concern over potential mining near the headwaters of the Wolf River. The book and the water walk opened my eyes to some extent. I had lived most of my life here on ancestral lands of the Menominee, who were living here for thousands of years before the Treaty of the Cedars in 1836. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm thankful to Dina Gilio-Whitaker and to the leaders of the Water Walk who welcomed and led us that day, including Sara Wescott, our speaker today. An excerpt from the book, As Long as Grass Grows. The underlying assumptions of environmental injustice, as commonly understood and deployed, are grounded in racial and economic terms and defined by norms of distributive justice within a capitalist framework. Indigenous peoples' pursuit of environmental justice requires the use of a different lens, one with a scope that can accommodate the full weight of the history of settler colonialism on one hand, and embrace differences in the ways Indigenous people view land and nature on the other. Overall, a differentiated environmental justice framework, we would call this an indigenized environmental justice, must acknowledge the political existence of Native nations and be capable of explicitly respecting principles of indigenous nationhood and self-determination. These principles of nationhood and self-determination are plainly evident in the ways Native peoples have always fought to defend and remain on their lands and the life those lands give them. From the intrusions of the earliest colonists into native gardens to the havoc wreaked by railroads and the imposition of reservation boundaries to today's pipeline and fracking conflicts, indigenous peoples have been forced into never-ending battles of resistance. As the No Dapple movement made clear through the slogan, "Water is life," Native resistance is inextricably bound to worldviews that center not only the obvious life-sustaining forces of the natural world, but also the respect accorded the natural world in relationships of reciprocity based on responsibility toward those life forms. The implicit question this book asks is, what does environmental justice look like when indigenous people are at the center?
Poso Mauniwiak Napana Chochin and Aswisium Mamate Tawiswan Omat Nimaneo Kihi and Itskiwakian. Hello everyone, my name is Sara Wescott. My Menominee name is Napana Chochin and I live on the land of the Menominee. More specifically, I live in Keshino, Wisconsin, which is on the Menominee Indian Reservation in northeastern Wisconsin. We are currently still occupying part of our ancestral homeland, which was about the state, almost the entire state of Wisconsin, and into the upper peninsula of Michigan. So the Fox Valley does lie within that area. So we we do have connections to the land that you're currently standing on or sitting on, whatever you're doing. But what I'm here to talk about today is a little bit of what we are dealing with as Menominee people. And I'd like to just start out by saying that I am just one person from the Menominee Nation. There are about 8,000 members, half of which live on the reservation. So please, take that into consideration. I'm just one person. There's so many more stories out there, so many more inputs, but this is just what I can offer you. This is what I have to say. I guess what I really want to bring attention to first and foremost is the Menominee River, because that is a big fight that we've been dealing with for the past couple of years now. Aquila, a foreign company, a Canadian company, is trying to open an open pit sulfide mine along the Menominee River, which is the ancestral birthplace of the Menominee people, but it is also the boundary water between Michigan and Wisconsin. I just have to take a big sigh after that one because it's been a rough battle. They've been awarded several permits, and just recently in January, a judge denied the wetland permit, which Aquila is fighting. So we continue to fight. This isn't over, but we will still, remain here fighting. We have to for the next generation, for all those that came before us. We talk about 7 generations, back 7 generations forward. It isn't just about us. And I think that's what's missing with a lot of what we do as people nowadays. I'm not speaking about just indigenous people. I just mean people in general. We're not thinking about that. We're not taking that into consideration, that this isn't just about us. What we do has an effect, just like what our ancestors did has an effect on us. So we need to be cognizant of that. We need to know that we are part of a bigger picture, and not even just within humans. We have to remember that what we do affects the plants, it affects the animals. Water is such an important resource, and it's very rarely given that consideration. It's just so sad, because all over Indian country, all over Turtle Island, United States and Canada, we are just fighting constantly for the protection of Mother Earth, for the protection of water, for all of our relatives that are gone, our ancestors, our ancestral remains, our cultural sites. We're just constantly fighting, and we will continue to fight because we have to. We have to fight. And sadly, we're largely ignored. We're a minority, but we're largely ignored. And I think that was very apparent with the Dakota Access Pipeline. That changed everything. The Dakota Access Pipeline changed everything. That was the longest nonviolent direct action in history, or action to date. And it was started by our youth. The youth of Standing Rock. They ran to the nation's capital in D.C. They ran that to deliver their message. I followed that. That's kind of how I started following Standing Rock and everything that was going on with them, because I was amazed by that, and historically we've always had runners, our tribes have always had runners, people that carry those messages over distances like that. So these youth are using those, those tactics to, just like their ancestors did. They're doing it to project their voice. And then, I don't know how much you are aware of it, but it was probably the most publicized of all of our fights so far. And that's just one fight. That's only one fight. We're all fighting something. So locally, we're fighting the Back 40 mine up in Michigan, Wisconsin, along the waters there. But also the Wolf River is under attack from the same company. Aquila was the same company trying to do exploratory drilling there along the Wolf River. And they withdrew plans, but there's still an interest there. So, we still got to keep our eye on that. But Badger Minerals decided to drop that plan, but they're not going anywhere. So we have to be mindful of that. We can't ever let our guard down. As Indigenous people, we've just been fighting for so long. And I'm glad that, we do have opportunities to speak with, the general public, that we do have, these types of conversations occurring, because this is what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us. This can't just be an Indigenous issue, and it's not. This requires everyone. And sadly, I don't know how much time we have left. We see it all over the world. Climate change is impacting Mother Earth in ways that we can't even imagine. It's sad. It really is. A lot of times people are, prone to think of it in terms of property damage, or, these horrible storms that are devastating communities. But if you think about all of our plant relatives and, the water, our animal relatives, they're all displaced too. And they make up a big part of our existence, even if we don't readily acknowledge that. That's part of, the web of life, or the circle of life. We're all connected. We're all related. So we try to be cognizant of that in our efforts all the time. Like, what we're doing is not just for us. It's for everyone. It's for all of creation. And it really needs to be that way. It's just really sad. So, currently too, we have Line 3 and Line 5 camps that are set up. I think the Line 5 camp is still set up, but there's a big fight in Minnesota right now against Line 3, Enbridge Line 3, that goes through tribal lands in the state of Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and it pumps, or the pipeline route goes from Alberta, Canada to Superior, Wisconsin, which is, Anishinaabe territory all through there. And sadly, it's Indigenous communities that feel the brunt of all of this a lot of times. So it's not just an Indigenous issue, though, and I can't stress that enough. It's not just an Indigenous issue. We need your help, everyone's help. There needs to be more awareness of this, and I think as allies, that's one of the main goals, is just to use your voice to help these efforts. And a lot of that comes with understanding who you are and where you come from, knowing your story so that you can help others. I'm not trying to say everybody go and do Ancestry.com or anything like that, but, just do your own research, ask your own questions. A lot of times that's how knowledge is passed down, like, through asking your elders, ask your families where you come from, who your relation is, understand that story as much as you can. And sadly, if, your elders are gone, then do that work, find out where, make those connections, because that's what a lot of this comes down to, is connections. Personal connections within yourself, but also, the connection with the environment, the connection with the Creator. Sit with the sunrise and watch it. Be in the moment. Because I think a lot of times that's what we're missing as people, is just being in the moment. We're so caught up with the hustle and bustle of everyday life, all of those distractions. A lot of times we just forget to sit in those moments. Be in your own ceremony. Kindness, gratitude, appreciation. There's all those elements that can be there. They're readily available to you in your own way. Meditation and prayer are great ways to accomplish that. Ceremony doesn't have to be so strict, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like there aren't specific guidelines that say this is how the ceremony needs to be performed in order for it to be considered the ceremony. The ceremony is within all of us. And I think that, as allies, we all need to understand that too. Indigenous people as well. That is within us. That is in each of us. Ceremonies help to activate that. So I think that we need to begin as a people to really heal, and that healing starts with us. And we really need to heal the environment. And that healing really does start with us. It's this human activity that is causing a lot of this destruction. I'm sorry if I didn't speak enough on the Back 40 or, the current fight for the Wolf River. I do want to acknowledge the Prove It First law, which was repealed back in 2017, I think, through the work of Tom Tiffany and then Governor Scott Walker, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. That we enjoyed the Prove It First law for many years. That came out of the Crandon Exxon mine fight. And they had to prove it that they could not, or that they could successfully mine and then be out of mining for 10 years afterwards, or 20 years afterwards. There's a big period there, but it just can't be done. So I think that, we need to start looking at legislation, because sadly a lot of that's what this all comes down to, is fighting against the law. Not law enforcement, but I'm saying, the legislation, because we saw it with the last administration where they stripped so much through that. And that's really where that power lies, because they're going to follow what's on that paper. We follow what's in our heart. But that paper, that written law, that's where we need help. And also funding, helping to create with funding, because these fights are expensive. It costs a lot to go up against big companies. So that's, something that I hope that you think about, or that you're able to help. I don't know. I don't want to be here saying, give us money or anything like that. I hope that that's not how that came off. But I just would like you to understand that there's so many components and so many other parts to this fight that we do, these fights that we are in, and that, that would help. So, fundraising efforts, that's always been something. And a lot of times with this environmental activism, it's people doing it on their own time, out of their own pocket. When we're fighting the Menominee River, or fighting for the Menominee River, that was us doing this on our own dime, on our own time. Just concerned citizens that, got together and wanted to make change. And that's really, what grassroots is about. But any help that we can get is definitely appreciated. I guess I just want to read a quote too that I've always enjoyed, and I really feel that's coming to fruition. And it's from Crazy Horse, who was Oglala Sioux, and it's an excerpt from The Last Vision. It says, "Upon suffering beyond suffering, the Red Nation shall rise again, and it shall be a blessing for a sick world. A world filled with broken promises, selfishness, and separations. A world longing for light again. I see a time of 7 generations." And I really do feel that time is upon us. There's a lot of Indigenous people that say that, these prophecies are coming into light now, because it's more crucial than ever that these fights win, that we continue to fight. We need your help. and that was prophesied too, that there would be this connection between Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people, and there would be a fork in the road, and we would need to know which way to go. So I pray that we go the right direction. I guess I just want to say about that much. Remember, I'm just one person, one Menominee person giving my perspective. I hope it was sufficient. I hope you took something away from it. And I hope that I didn't offend anybody. And if I did, I apologize, Swanham, and I am sorry. I didn't mean to offend anybody. I am open to conversations if you guys would like to have more conversations, or if I can provide more information. I would definitely be open to that, or help out in any way that I can. Just please let me know. I believe the pastor has my contact information, so I hope to hear from you soon, and I hope that you are in solidarity with what we are trying to accomplish as people living on this world together. Waiwanan in it.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my tribe and heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I've traveled, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I glide the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, and the great winds urging me on. Reach the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born above the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my new boat home.
Sharing our individual joys and concerns helps us collectively to grow resilience. We invite you now to type into the chat box any personal news you might wish to share, so that we can hold space for and with you as we worship. And if you would like to connect further with Reverend Leah or with a care team member, please feel free to let her know directly. You can still submit joys and concerns on our website or by emailing Reverend Leah or any member of our staff to be included in our weekly email. Now let us breathe into this shared silence together. along with these individual joys and concerns that we share in our community, we also acknowledge the fact that the events of this past week in our country have brought many of us a confusing combination of relief and heartache. As we grieve and continue to fight anti-Black violence, let us not forget that the poisonous grasp of systemic violence in our country reaches even beyond those stories that we hear about in the news. In particular, today we lift up the lives of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirits. As of 2020, there were more than 2,300 documented cases in the US. Indigenous women face murder rates that are 10 times the national average. Let us join in a moment of silence to grieve and to honor the lives of these, our Native siblings. May they not be forgotten, and may our country fiercely answer this call to justice and to peace. May it be so, and amen.
And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer.
Just as it is a sacred task and spiritual practice to notice and love and support our planet home, to witness this forever turning of the earth, so too is it a deep ritual to emotionally and financially sustain this place. We're virtual for now, but the needs of our fellowship are no less real. The fellowship needs each of us, just as we offer presence and help to any among us who might need it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, to Reverend Christina, to Allie, or any member of our staff if you are in need of financial or emotional support. There is assistance available. And please know that we are grateful for the commitment of those who regularly, generously give and give again. You allow the fellowship to endure, turning just like the earth. As you hear these words from Mark Marnaka, think about why you are a part of the fellowship and why it is that you give. And then please do. Thank you.
I love the fellowship. I stay with the fellowship because it's a spiritual home that I could not find anywhere else in the world. It's a place where there have been sacraments for my family, a place where my children have been educated in spirituality, a place where I have been through changes and growth in my own life. And it's really the only place that uplifts me in all of the ways that I'm looking for. And I will stay with it forever.
Oh, As we come to the end of our service, we will extinguish our chalice flame, even as we still hold its light in our hearts. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world.
After our closing words, we will have small breakout groups for conversation. In a moment, we will hear a short postlude song. If you don't want to participate in the small group conversations, please use that postlude time to log off. If you choose to stay, and I hope you will be invited to choose your own breakout group. One option will be for newcomers to join me to talk more about the fellowship and Unitarian Universalism. One option will be to join someone from our care team if you would like to share more personally and deeply about whatever is on your heart. One group will be led by John Duffin about principles of environmental justice from indigenous perspectives. One group will be led by Doug Middleton about unpacking white colonialism. And one group will be for informal, unmoderated chit-chat. If you have trouble selecting your group, please stay here and someone will help you. And with that, go in resilience, growing in strength. Go finding balance in whatever ways that is possible this week. Go in peace, knowing we embrace each other even now from a distance.